see. She wasn't supposed to win. She was supposed to be humiliated. But what started as a takedown turned into a takeover. This isn't just politics. This is war on live TV. She didn't walk in with fear. She walked in with fire. The anticipation had been boiling online for days. The youngest press secretary in American history, Caroline Leavitt, was scheduled to appear on America Speaks, a primetime political talk show hosted by Marcus Hale, a man who made a career out of dismantling conservative figures live, with a smile on his face and a dagger in his questions. At 28 years old, Leavitt had become a lightning rod, Gen Z icon, Trump's fiercest defender. A woman who called old media obsolete and ran the White House like it was her own live stream studio. TikTok X. She didn't just give press briefings, she broadcast them. Hale, meanwhile, was the darling of the liberal elite, Harvard-educated, razor-tongued, and praised as the last voice of reason. His interviews were less about discussion and more like gladiator fights. And tonight, Caroline was stepping into the arena. The promo clip alone had gone viral. "This Thursday," Hale said, leaning into the camera, "Caroline Leavitt joins me. No filters, no handlers. Let's see how long the mask stays on." It wasn't just a conversation. It was a televised ambush. But Caroline, she didn't flinch. In fact, she smiled. "Can't wait," she posted on X. "Bring the fire, I'm fireproof." As the lights in the studio dimmed and the theme music blared, viewers across the country tuned in, not for policy talk, but for the clash of titans. What they got was something else entirely. The smiles were fake, the knives were real. Marcus Hale opened with charm, of course. That well-practiced smile, the smooth voice, the handshake that lingered just a second too long for comfort. The audience clapped, polite, restrained, but the tension was thick. "Caroline," he began, "welcome to America Speaks. Quite the resume for someone still young enough to be carded at a bar. Press secretary, Gen Z ambassador, Trump's mouthpiece. Tell me, do you ever feel like you're babysitting a man who refuses to grow up?" Laughter from the crowd, whistles, a few smug nods. Caroline didn't blink. Her expression remained calm, almost amused. Then she leaned forward, eyes glinting under the studio lights. "Thanks for the warm welcome, Marcus," she said, her voice silk but steel. "But no, I don't babysit anyone. I work with the greatest president in modern history. You call it chaos. I call it leadership. And I'm here to make sure that message cuts through your noise." The studio was silent for half a beat. Then applause, scattered, unexpected, rose from one corner. Hale tilted his head, amused but rattled. "Confident," he said. "I like that. But let's talk substance." Caroline leaned back, crossing one leg over the other, still smiling. "By all means," she said, "but be warned, I don't do softball." They called it journalism. She called it manipulation. Marcus didn't waste time. "You've banned outlets from press briefings, NPR, Reuters, AP. All denied access under your administration. Tell me, is that transparency? Or just a convenient muzzle for critics?" The crowd hushed. Even the band had stopped playing. Caroline's posture didn't change, but her voice did. It sharpened. "We didn't ban anyone, Marcus. We filtered." Filtered. A single word dropped like a match into a room full of gas. She continued, calm and surgical. "NPR ran a story last month accusing Trump of cult behavior. Reuters called our economic recovery dangerously artificial. These aren't questions, they're narratives. Our job is to deliver truth. If you're twisting it before it even leaves the podium, you're not a journalist. You're a propagandist." A murmur rippled through the studio. Hale raised an eyebrow, but Caroline wasn't done. "You want transparency? I live stream my briefings. I speak directly to 728,000 people on X. I go live on TikTok after press events. No edits, no filters, just truth. Maybe that's why the old media's panicking, because we don't need you anymore." A few people clapped. Others sat stiff, unsure whether to cheer or cringe. Hale's smile thinned. "So the White House only talks to people who agree with them?" "No," she snapped. "We talk to the people who still believe facts matter. That's not censorship. That's a vibe check." A single sentence sent a country into chaos. Hale shifted gears. He was losing ground, and he knew it. "Let's go global," he said. "You said last week, and I quote, 'Canada is on its knees.'" This was after Trump's new tariff policies. "Do you think mocking an ally is how diplomacy works?" The crowd leaned in. They were hungry now. Caroline tilted her head, lips curved into a slow, deliberate smile. "Canada depends on us," she said. "That's not an insult, that's reality. Trump imposed tariffs because leverage works. When your neighbor owes you rent, you don't whisper, you knock." Applause, this time stronger. "And Marcus," she added, "you talk a lot about diplomacy, but diplomacy doesn't mean kneeling to everyone who whines. It means standing up, knowing your worth, and playing the game to win." Hale tried to cut in. She didn't let him. "We didn't break Canada. We reminded them who leads this continent, and we're not apologizing for it. No cap." The audience was split, some cheering, others booing. But Caroline had shifted the energy. What started as a setup had become her stage, and Marcus Hale, he wasn't smiling anymore. He went for her family. He didn't expect the fire. Marcus Hale leaned in, voice quieter now, deadlier. "You talk about transparency, truth, loyalty. But let's get real, Caroline. You're not just a press secretary. You're a symbol, a mother, a new face of an old regime. Are you using that image, that child of yours, to make the Trump brand softer? Are you turning motherhood into marketing?" The air went still. A few gasps from the audience. Even the band shifted uneasily. Caroline's face didn't move, but her eyes, they burned. "You want to bring my son into this?" she said softly, her voice like a matchstick striking. She sat forward, uncrossed her legs, and spoke, each word like a hammer. "I'm a mother, Marcus. I gave birth in July. A tough delivery. 4 weeks after an assassination attempt on the president I serve. I was back at the podium within days, not for clout, for duty, because I believe in something bigger than a headline." A pause. A storm was gathering behind her voice. "I don't hide behind my son. I fight because of him, for his future, for every American mother raising a child in a country under siege by people who care more about optics than outcomes." The crowd stirred, murmurs, shouts, a thunderclap of applause. Caroline's tone dropped low. "So if you want to talk family, Marcus, let's. But be ready for the fire it brings." Every villain needs a good story. She wasn't giving him one. Marcus smirked. "You say loyalty. I see blind obedience. The Trump administration silences dissent, pushes tariffs, bans journalists, and calls it strength. That's not leadership. That's control. Sounds like a regime to me." The word regime echoed like a slap. Caroline didn't flinch. "Regime? You know what sounds like a regime to me?" she said, her voice slicing clean. "Elite media telling 330 million Americans what to think, shaming anyone who disagrees, canceling facts they don't like. That's not journalism. That's manipulation in makeup." The crowd gasped. Hale narrowed his eyes. "Trump isn't silencing dissent. He's exposing the machines built to control us. And I'm not his puppet. I'm his partner. Because I've seen the wreckage left behind by your so-called guardians of democracy." Caroline stood taller in her chair. "You call it a regime. We call it revolution. And this generation, We're not begging for approval. We're taking the mic." He accused her of being a puppet. She became a flamethrower. Hale's tone dropped an octave. "You call yourself independent, but come on, Caroline. You repeat every Trump line. Defend every Trump move. Do you ever say no? Or are you just his voice? With better hair?" A few laughs from the audience, a petty blow, but one meant to sting. Caroline didn't laugh. Instead, she leaned forward, slow, intentional, until her words cut clean through the noise. "I've got better hair, sure," she said, "and a better spine." She paused, let the silence hold. "My father sold used trucks. My mother ran a food cart. I grew up in a 2-bedroom home in New Hampshire, not a newsroom in Manhattan. No one handed me this microphone. I earned it with grit, with truth, with fire." Her voice cracked, not from weakness, but force. "You think I parrot lines? I chose this. I believe in it. In the jobs we've brought back, in the wars we've ended, in the peace we've secured. That's not blind loyalty. That's earned belief." She sat back, arms crossed. "And if that's too much for your script, Marcus, maybe you need to rewrite it." "He tried to play cool. She brought the storm." Marcus Hale inhaled sharply. Then with a smirk, he dropped the next grenade. "Let's talk foreign policy. Russia, Ukraine. Trump's so-called peace deal ended the war, sure. But at what cost? Ukraine lost land. Putin didn't fire a single shot. You call that strength?" Caroline's eyes narrowed. "I call it smart." She sat upright. "Trump ended a war without a single American life lost. He stopped the bleeding. And yes, he did it at the table, not on a battlefield. That's called negotiation, something your side forgot how to do." Hale tried to speak. She kept going. "You want to cry about Crimea? Where were you when it was taken in 2014 under your side's watch? Trump walked into that mess and came out with peace. You call that weakness?" She shook her head. "You don't want peace, Marcus. You want outrage. You want headlines soaked in fear. Because fear sells, right? Not on my watch." The audience roared, cheers and jeers colliding. Caroline held the center. "This isn't weakness, it's strategy. And if your version of leadership means endless war and media soundbites, you can keep it. He came for blood, but she came for truth." Marcus Hale's cool was beginning to slip. He leaned forward now, hands clenched slightly. "Caroline," he said, his voice laced with frustration, "do you ever say no to Trump? You talk about leadership, loyalty, strategy. But what happens when he's wrong? Do you challenge him? Or do you just post another TikTok?" The audience chuckled nervously. A few applauded the jab, but the smile on Caroline's face didn't waver. It sharpened. "You want to know what I do when the president is wrong?" she said. "I tell him, behind closed doors, like a real team. But what you don't get, Marcus, is that leadership isn't about public betrayal. It's about results." She leaned in. "Jobs, security, peace. Trump delivers. And I defend that. Not because I have to, but because I choose to. Every single day." The studio stirred. Applause clashed with murmurs. "I'm not here to dance for your narrative," she added. "I'm here to speak for a generation that's tired of the games. We don't play by your rules anymore." Hale's jaw tightened. He had fired everything, and she was still standing. She didn't just win the debate, she rewrote the playbook. As the interview closed, Caroline stood tall. The studio thundered with divided voices, applause and boos merging into something electric. Hale leaned back, tapping the desk, forcing a tight smile. "Well," he muttered, "that's that." Caroline turned to the camera. "Deal with it," she said. 2 words that would explode online. Within minutes, social media lit up. Clips raced through TikTok and X. The hashtag #CarolineUnfiltered trended globally. Her walk off stage, white sneakers, confident stride, unshaken fire, became a meme. The caption, "She came, she clapped back, she conquered." Fox News praised her as the face of a bold new conservative era. CNN declared her dangerous. But everyone, love her or hate her, agreed. She had just rewritten the rules. She didn't dodge questions. She deflected bullets. And she did it with grit, clarity, and absolute poise. In a world where you're expected to fold under pressure, she didn't just hold the line, she redrew it. The mic was never taken from her. She grabbed it and never let go. If you believe in speaking your truth, even when it's unpopular, if you believe strength isn't measured in how loud you shout, but how long you stand, then don't just watch stories like this. Live them. Hit subscribe. Join the movement. And remember, your voice isn't just heard. It echoes.